Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Myself, Bipasha Roy, Assistant Professor, Department of Microbiology, Maulana Azad College. I heartily welcome all our guests, Principal Sir, my dear colleagues, and the star of the future, our beloved students. This evening gathering is for the inauguration of Students Unit of Microbiology Society of India at Department of Microbiology, Maulana Azad College. I feel delighted and honored to mention that one of our student, Preetam Chaudhary, who graduated from Department of Microbiology this year, served efficiently as the students coordinator of MSI. Today's event is organized by Department of Microbiology, Maulana Azad College, in collaboration with IQAC Maulana Azad College and Microbiologist Society of India. We have Professor Shubir Chandra Dasgupta, Coordinator IQAC Maulana Azad College and Head Department of Microbiology with us. And I request Sir to share his words with us.
Respected Principal, Dr. Aurobind Deshmukh, President, Microbiologist Society of India, Dr. Shapna Mukherjee, State President, MSI India, our two respected honorable resource person, Dr. Prachetash Ghosh, Postdoctoral Fellow, Department of Medical Biochemistry and Biophysics, Umeå University, Sweden, and Dr. Shambit Roy, Research Associate, Michigan State University, USA, Dr. Samudra Bonik, Head of the Department of Microbiology, my colleagues, and all participating students and fellow. On behalf of Principal and IQAC and as Coordinator of DBT Star College Program, I welcome all of you this August gathering on this occasion of inauguration of Students Unit of Microbiology Society of India at Maulana Azad College. The theme of today's discussion is also very unique. The protocol for paradigm shift from textbook to scientific research. I hope all the students will acquire some knowledge from the lecture from our two notable resource persons. I wish all the best of today's program. Thank you.
This evening, we also have Dr. Shapna Mukherjee, State President, MSI, and Head Department of Microbiology, Dinobandhu Andrews College, Kolkata. And I request ma'am to say a few words to the audience.
Sure, Vipasha. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Professor Deshmukh, our President of Microbiology Society, he will join us shortly. Our Principal of Maulana Azad College, our Chief Guest, Dr. Prachetash Ghosh and Dr. Sambit Roy, Dr. Shubir Dasgupta, sir, IQSC Coordinator, Dr. Samudra Prasad Bonik, Head of the Department of Microbiology, other faculty members, and my dear students. A very, very warm welcome to all of you. On behalf of Microbiology Society India West Bengal Unit. Students, you may not know that our Microbiology Society started its journey 25 years back under the leadership of Professor Arvind Deshmukh, sir. Today, sir will be with us. He will join us shortly. It is due to his incredibly insightful thinking that MSI is now the largest microbiology society in India, with about 5,000 members from colleges, universities, research institutes, industry, medical field of India and abroad. The students unit of MSI is also very strong, with about 7,000 members across India. MSI provide all the students the common platform to interact with each other. Thank you to our president for his inspirational guidance and for being with us today. He will be here shortly. Students, you must also feel proud to be a part of a college which has the legacy of about 100 years, Maulana Azad College. This college has been a leader in higher education throughout West Bengal. Its global approach to education, its emphasis on sustainability, its readiness to innovate, its human values, and its insistence on providing a useful education are what the students community desperately need today. I'm really, really thankful to the principal of Maulana Azad College for giving permission to establish Students Unit of Microbiology Society of India by the Department of Microbiology. Thank you, sir. This new start of student unit in Maulana Azad College will help in expansion of microbiology subject and help the students grow
ওই নিচের
academically.
তাকে ডালটাল যেখানে থাকে তার নিচে
Today you will hear the discussions by two of the best minds who are engaged in research. I hope they will discuss what fundamental conceptual transformation should be accompanied for being a successful researcher, highlight the effective strategies for academic success, especially in research. So without any more delay, I would pass you over to
microbiology. At the same time, I'm very happy that student unit at Maulana Azad College is working from today. And I'm happy to inaugurate student unit also. Of course, Mukherjee ma'am and her team, Swapna Mukherjee ma'am and her team. So all teachers are so friendly with each other and so active for encouraging the young generation. I do not have a word to appreciate all teachers from West Bengal. So I will not take much time. Only wish all the best to the speaker today, as well as student unit of Microbiology Society at Maulana Azad College. Thanks to Honorable Principal of the college for creating good academic environment. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So the main stakeholder of the education system is the students. Our students are well learned and knowledgeable, but the lacking is somewhere else. Most of the students find it difficult to crave a path in achieving something remarkable. Science have enormous scope for research. Students opting science develop a fervor for research, but they don't know the route to go there. So today, in this occasion, we have invited two well-achieved personalities who will usher them towards the world of scientific research. It will be more of an interactive discussion rather than one-way communication, so students can pour out their query. So now I request Dr. Debolina Bhattacharya, Assistant Professor, Department of Microbiology, Maulana Azad College, to introduce our speakers to everyone present here.
Thank you, Bipasha. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I am glad to introduce our two eminent speakers who will be jointly presenting today's webinar. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Prachitesh Ghosh, Postdoctoral Fellow of Department of Biochemistry and Biophysics, Umeå University, Sweden. Dr. Ghosh completed his graduation and master degree in zoology from University of Calcutta. Then he pursued PhD program under the supervision of Dr. Ashish Kumar Mukherjee in the Division of Bacteriology, ICMR, NICED. He went on continue the postdoctoral research work in the School of Pharmacy, Sangkyangkong University, South Korea, in the field of bacterial host pathogen interactions with pneumococcus model. After almost 3 years of successful research, he moved on to Umeå University, Sweden, in the Department of Medical Biochemistry and Biophysics to continue his research on the different aspects of Helicobacter pylori gene regulation. Dr. Ghosh has many research publications in reputed international journals like Gut Pathogens, PLOS ONE, BBRC, and Vaccines, etc. He also possesses a Korean patent under his belt as co-owner. Heartfelt thanks to Dr. Ghosh for joining us and sharing his experiences in this journey. Looking forward to hear from you. I am very honored to introduce Dr. Shombit Roy in this webinar session. Dr. Roy graduated in zoology from Bardhaman University and pursued his master's in zoology from Benares Hindu University. He completed his doctoral research work from Division of Bacteriology under supervision of Dr. Ranjan Nondi in ICMR NICET. Currently, he is a research associate in Reproductive and Development Science program in Animal Science Department of Michigan State University, USA. His current research focus is on epigenetics, regulation of follicle development, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and reproductive endocrinology. Dr. Roy has numerous research publications in prestigious international journals like Endocrinology, PLOS Genetics, Scientific Reports, BMC Microbiology, etc. Heartfelt thanks to Dr. Roy for joining us in this webinar, and we are eager to hear from you. The question answer session of today's webinar will be moderated by Dr. Arpan Dash and Dr. Suchitra Sarkar, faculty members of Department of Microbiology of Maulana Azad College. Now, I invite Dr. Roy and Dr. Ghosh to inaugurate the webinar session. The stage is all yours. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for the introduction. Thanks to the organizer for allowing us to speak in this webinar. Today we'll talk mostly for the undergrads. So before going into the main topic, let me share the presentation that is made by both of us. That is I and Prachitas. So can you see that? Okay.
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. So before going into the main topic, we'll discuss on our PhD and postdoctoral research work in brief. So I did my PhD from National Institute of Cholera and Enteric Disease, and my research topic was gluconate utilization and its role in virulence mechanisms of Vibrio cholerae. So gluconate is an important sugar, and it's found in the intestine where Vibrio cholerae colonizes. So it was reported that gluconate is important for the colonization of E. coli. So we wanted to know that does Vibrio cholerae also is going to utilize the gluconate for its colonization, and if yes, then how is it related to virulence mechanism by Vibrio cholerae? So to do that, we used a reductionist approach. So that we'll discuss later. So first we characterized the gluconate utilization system, and we created 4 in-frame deleted gene knockout of the gluconate utilization system. And we found that if we do the knockout, all the mutant strains are like cannot colonize properly, and they are producing less cholera toxin. So in another project with Helmholtz Center for Infectious Disease in Germany, the chemistry lab, they are synthesizing some molecules, small molecule inhibitors. So we developed a high throughput screening assay to screen the small molecules, which is antibacterial, means anti-Vibrio cholerae or anti-cholera toxin. So, okay. And in my postdoc, I switched to a different area, like what I did during my PhD, that is kind of bacterial genetics. And then I shifted to epigenetics field. Here I'm working on how androgen is regulating normal female reproduction. So as it is known that androgen or testosterone is like a male hormone, and it has important role in male reproduction. But it is recently developed from our lab and from different other labs that androgen is also playing role in normal female reproduction. So too much or too less androgen is causing problem. Too much androgen is causing polycystic ovarian syndrome, and too less is causing primary ovarian follicle premature ovarian failure. So now we are just looking into that how androgen is regulating this female reproduction. So we found that androgen is doing by modifying some epigenetic markers, and we are looking into the histone modification part, and we got some data, and we recently published this in PLOS Genetics. And so this is how we are working. So actually I switched from like vectorial genetics and to epigenetics. So this is what actually my research work is.
Hello, let me begin by welcoming all of you in this stage, and big thank you for this kind introduction. And actually, I am trying to give you a brief idea about my research. I did my PhD from ICM and NICET. Actually, I and Shombit did the PhD almost at the same time from NICET.
Yeah.
So basically, I worked on the molecular pathogenesis of Helicobacter pylori. It is a bacteria which you can find almost 80% of the Indian populations. But the interesting fact that about of this huge amount of population, only 15 to 20% actually develop the gastritis, gastric ulcer, or gastric adenocarcinoma. So actually, in briefly, what I did in the PhD is try to find some biomarkers or factor which actually help this bacteria to cause disease in some individuals, and in other individuals they actually remain asymptomatic. After that, I actually went to South Korea, and where I did my research for almost 3 years in Sangkun University. There actually I did my research on the another bacteria model, that is the Streptococcus pneumoniae, which actually causes the pneumonia, sepsis, and meningitis. And there I actually worked on the regulation of the streptococcal virulence factor, the capsule, which is the most renowned virulence factor of the streptococcus. And I also tried to develop a pneumococcal vaccine there. And after completing my project there, I just last year I moved to here in the Sweden, Umeå University. Here actually I am working on the Helicobacter pylori adhesin gene and how did it regulated in the pH, in the lower pH, because the another striking feature of the H pylori is that it colonizes in the human stomach, which has a very low pH, but the regulation of the H pylori adhesin and their sustainability in this low pH is not known. So we are trying to find some clue which will be helpful in the future. That's all from my research, and then now we can move into the main topic.
Okay, so today's theme of our topic is how the textbook mediated learning is lagging from the research and what actual changes here we call the shifts of the paradigms, here we call the criteria, are really needed so that a student can learn in an effective way. So this is the quotation from a movie called Lincoln by Steven Spielberg. So where Abraham Lincoln, the ex-president of America, was told that if your goal is to reach the North Pole and you are given a compass, you will reach the North Pole. But then Lincoln replied, although a compass can tell you the North Pole, but it cannot tell you the obstacles like swamps and chasms in between. So maybe if you have the compass, still you will not reach your goal, North Pole, because of these obstacles. So likewise, only textbook mediated learning won't help you much until or unless you understand the research behind the information you are acquiring. So simultaneous learning from the textbook and reading related research paper will help you to develop your skills.
Yeah, that's it.
So now we'll tell about what is the difference between textbook or only research paper. Here are some difference, that is pros and cons.
The research papers, you know that research paper is mostly deal with the experimental part. That means it actually discloses that how that investigation comes into the field or something. So we can consider research paper as a primary source of information, but it is very specific because the research paper deals with a particular subject. There might be some mentioning about the in the introduction part or something, but you cannot get a brief idea or a general idea about the topic. And but if you have to get an idea of the topic by only reading the research papers, then you have to go through a lot of research papers.
Yeah.
So, but the research paper is always give you the updated information, and
Yes.
it is very
This is
specific.
this is
Yeah,
actually the most important part of reading a research paper during your undergrad courses. Like what I have seen here, like in US and most of the first world countries, those who are in the undergrads, so they are given the research papers, they read it along with the classroom notes, and as it is updated, because books are not always updated.
updated.
So
Yeah.
especially in the field in science field, because every day, like in the biological science, is very new, and so every day new research is going on and data is getting into the included in your textbook. So it is always better to read a research paper along with your textbook.
But the better way, the best thing about the textbook, that it is give you a comprehensive idea of the subject. So you cannot avoid any of this. You have to do it in simultaneous way, and
Yes.
that's what we have found in this Europe or USA and everything. Even in the Korea, I found that the undergrad student and master students, they have to present the research paper in regular way, and I think that it will be very good idea of encouraging research among the young minds.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what we are talking about. Like, uh, which one is better, to read a textbook or
And
the paper?
the students actually really are in dilemma, that should I read a textbook or should I go for a review paper?
Yes.
And another one I just want to tell you, because there are most of the audience are undergrads, that there is a thin difference between the research paper and a review paper. Research
Yeah.
paper is the review paper is actually, you can tell that it is the accumulation of many data from all the research paper of a particular subject. So review
Yeah.
paper actually can give you a broader idea rather than the research paper. But
Yes.
in the review paper, the experimental details is not mentioned,
Yeah.
but you can get an information that that the from when the study have been started and how long it has reached, like that way.
Yeah.
So
So it's
people
always
might
better to read first to you can follow the classroom notes and go through the textbook and then follow a review paper on that, and then for a specific area you can read a research paper.
Yeah.
So this is what actually most of the advanced countries do. Like they tie the classroom based knowledge with the reading research papers since the undergrad, and the undergrads also, I saw here in US, they are given some small project, and the project is related to the cutting edge technology that is going to use, that we'll use during our PhD, that we use during our postdoc. So that kind of experiments are given to undergrads so that they can learn, if they want to shift from undergrad and after doing the postgrad and then to the PhD, they can they'll learn the techniques before they come into the PhD program.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is kind of more advantage for the students here or even in the Europe. Okay. So what we should do, here are some protocols that we made for step-by-step learning during the undergrad. So first, that we talked in between. So first, follow the classroom teaching and read the book.
Because the classroom teaching and the reading the textbooks is very much important for building your knowledge.
Yep.
Without this, you cannot proceed. So don't avoid the classroom teaching and that textbook reading. It is a very good way of reading, but you in accordance with that, you have to also make time for reading some research paper, review paper simultaneously. That will enrich your knowledge.
Yes, and then you can do another thing like what we have written in the point 2 section. So read the review paper in groups. So like you in our class there are 50 students. So make a 5 groups or 10 groups, and then take a download a review paper or any research paper from NCBI PubMed, and just read the paper and discuss among yourself what are the main findings and how they preach to their findings and what are the conclusion. So in that way, that will help you in development of skills in terms of analytical power and the what is the creativity. And also read, go through the experimental approaches which is given in the paper, And there's another mode of learning which is very popular here, is called
In
audiovisual
Europe
way of
also,
learning.
audio visual way of learning in Europe
Learning.
also.
Because
Yeah.
the human can remember the photographs only better than the
Anything.
like any line, any talk.
No
So
word, anything. Yeah.
yeah, so this is what we faced during when we did our undergrads. We don't have that much of that information
Luxury.
available on the YouTube. So what we have to do, usually get some CDs with the book. So we used to play that CDs like in genetics and developmental biology, and we used to get knowledge, because sometimes you cannot you cannot understand the whole process or the whole mechanism from just reading the book. So if you visualize it, like I remember that thing in the replication uh, process in molecular biology. So there is a lagging strand synthesis process. Okay, so the leading strand is quite easy to understand when you read the book, but lagging strand, until and unless you see a video, it is really little bit difficult to understand. So the way of learning through the audiovisual mode is really important, and is getting done by here. And also I'll ask
learn the programming, which actually is very advantageous in today's research, that if you can learn some programming, the R packages, Python, etc. Because you are young, you are enthusiast, so you can learn, and it is the better way to start from the young age, because you can learn many things in that young age. So it would be really advantageous in this way.
Yeah, because most of the people, they make their graphs with the R system, because in R you'll make a different type of graphs and different combination you can do it. So it's really good to learn the R especially.
Yeah, especially, and that is, you can.
Yeah, so another thing is that there's a problem I found, that the interdisciplinary subject is very needed. Like when we read physics, only we read physics. When we read chemistry, we only read chemistry. When we read mathematics, we learn mathematics. When we just learn mathematics. But during the process of like undergrad, if it is like interdisciplinary subjects are there, like with the biology, you took some physics related to that you can apply in your biological field, like biophysics or like biochemistry, it's there already. So it will help you to develop your skills, or like analytical power. So now, what is research?
What is research? Because everybody we are talking about the research, but research is nothing but a systemic investigation in order to find the solutions of a problem. And this investigation is guided by the previously collected information and knowledge. And for this purpose, the textbook knowledge is very much important, because you cannot get any idea or any clue if you don't have any sound background of knowledge. So I am talking every time that don't avoid the textbook reading. It is important for research in every step.
Okay, so there are the steps in research process. I think it can be seen properly. So there are, like, the first you have to define the problem. So when you get into the research, you have to know which field you are going to work and what are the questions. So mostly like when we are in undergrads or in postgrads, so we actually want to learn the techniques more often before asking the actual question. So but if you want to be a good scientist or any good researcher, first you have to ask question. So this is the most important in research. What is the actual question and how to solve that? So the first is define the problem, and then after defining the problem, you have to go through the literature which is already available, because something that came to your mind and you think, okay, let's do it, we can do that research on that field, but it is already published. Then there's no meaning to do the research, right? So you had to know the background. So the history of developing that area, to know the history of developing that area is really, really important. Okay. And then select a research design, like you have to choose how to proceed with that, your idea, what kind of experiments do you need, and how to reach your like a goal. So mainly the objectives part. And this is kind of the similar, that if your question is that will be your hypothesis mostly, and then you have to carry out the research, and then you have to interpret the data to find it whether it is matching to your hypothesis or not. If not, then you have to go back again to your
I think about it in
design.
other way, and sometimes you have to think out of box also.
Yeah, most of the times, I think.
Most of the times, yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
So don't be frustrated when you don't get your desired result.
Yeah. Yes. And then report the research finding, that is like the publication, and we'll discuss later on publications. And this one, like we talk.
The repeat. The repeat is actually very much important, because sometimes in the biological system, because we are talking about the biological system, because we are doing the research in the biological system. Thus, in the sometimes biological system, sometimes the result appears, but it may happen that biological system is a very complex system. So we don't know that our desired results come in a desired way or not. So you have to make it biologically replicable. So if your result coming in about 3 times, 4 times, then you can think, okay, that my result is okay, but don't be judgmental only seeing that only one time result. So
yeah, so always you have to, at least you have to carry out
repeat it 3 times.
You expense 3 times at least. Nowadays paper you are going to accept of like 6 times repetition, most in case of in vivo experiments. So yeah, so better you do, better you'll get result, better you'll will be your, you can analyze the statistics behind that.
So that's why actually you can categorize your research actually in the 2 way. That is the inductive research. That means when you are doing any experiment for the first time, you have got data, and then you do repeat it 2 or 4, and then you repeat it 2 or 3 times, and then you can say that it is the new data, and depending upon that, you can assume a hypothesis, or sometimes you can build a theory which is been known, which is unknown to everyone. So this is the inductive research, that is the theory building research. And that another one is the deductive research. So because something is already been discovered, but you have to do it again for making it sure whether it is really replicable or not. That was theory testing research. So you are actually testing whether that the theory is actually true or not. That's so research is actually doing, we have to do 2 types of research in the laboratory. One is the inductive research, and another one is the deductive research.
Yeah, in general, like in brief, like we have to design the hypothesis, and we have to carry out the research, and if we didn't meet our goal, then we need to come back again and again
and again,
and we need to change different protocols. We need to change like
different parameters, everything,
different parameters associated with that. And for that, to do that, you need to have developed the analytical skill or creative skill, and to like to develop that, you need to start reading research paper from the undergrads along with your textbook.
It will increase your creative intelligence.
So why should undergrads do research? So it will enhance creative intelligence and the troubleshooting skill. And what is creative intelligence? So there are 2 kind of intelligence, like analytical intelligence and the creative intelligence. So in India, we are familiar with mostly the analytical intelligence, but not with the creative one. The analytical intelligence means the computation. Like if you are doing good math, you are doing good statistics, you're good at that, you can say it analytical, and along with, to some more extent, you are analyzing your data. But the creative intelligence is somewhat like you're starting from scratch, right? So you don't have any idea that don't have any idea what to do. So from there, you'll think a new idea, and then you build your research. So in one what you can say, the power of imagination or innovation is called creative intelligence. So to make you understand, I can do I can share a whiteboard. You can see the whiteboard.
Yeah.
Okay, so here it is. So difference is like, suppose in microbiology, I'm giving you the very basic example, like to understand. It's very basic. Okay, so like in a growth curve of bacteria, oh, okay. Suppose this is a growth curve. I know it's a very bad drawing actually. So a person is calculating the doubling time. Okay. And two-person actually is working on that area, the growth curve. A person is calculating the just doubling time, and he report that, and it is actually the you can say it's analytical influence. And another person can find that when it drops, and he started analyzing why it drops. Then he start adding new media and he found a new graph. So this is actually the creative one. So I know it's a very basic like things to make you understand, but this is actually what it is. Like analytical is mostly about the competition and analyzing your data, and the creative part is like you have to think from the scratch.
You have to start from zero actually.
Yeah. Now I'll share you the main screen. Yeah. And these are the one of the two big scientists in there is Carl Sagan is a big American astronomer, and Williams Bragg
actually got the Nobel Prize for
Nobel Prize.
crystallography.
Yeah. So most of the scientists there, if they are good, they mostly put on power on your imagination power or innovative power. Now it comes to the troubleshooting part. So I always I told you that the reductionism that I took reductionist approach during my PhD to learn. Most of the labs they use the reductionist approach. So what is reductionism? So holistic approach is as a whole you're thinking about your project, and if you cannot find it, you have to make it small subparts, and from the subparts you can reach your like a goal. So like in evolutionary biology, so the Darwin used many reductionist observation on finches or domesticated pigeons to conclude evolution, and which is happening in the organism. He got some knowledge on he's doing on like small subparts on evolutionary biology research, and from there he made a conclusion that organism is evolving, and this is actually the holistic thing. So in every research you have to learn it in that way. Likewise with isolating DNA from the cellular constitution, every McLeod and McCarthy could not have conclusively demonstrated that it alone was responsible for the transmission of pneumococcus. So to understand that DNA is responsible as a genetic material, before that it was known that protein is only the genetic material. So they did different experiments, you might be knowing, mostly in the field of, those are in the field of microbiology, that every McLeod experiment, that rough strain, smooth strain experiment, and they so they divided into small parts like different experiment, and then to make a final goal, which is that DNA is the genetic material. So this is how you can reach you can reach to your conclusion if you make your data, or if you make your research in small subparts, and then you can get your knowledge. So why it is important for the undergrad? Because reading research paper or doing small project will help you to think in a reductionist approach, and which will help you to further develop analytical as well as the creative skill.
And there are other actually reasons why the undergrad should do the research, because everybody who is in undergrad, that doesn't mean that everybody should proceed their career in the research. Somebody might like it and somebody might not like it. So if you get an exposure to research in such a young age, then you can get an idea that whether should you proceed to, whether you should stick into this area, or should you think to another career option. So you can get an idea at very young age. So you don't have to be confused like that. And
Yes,
if
and then
you,
you can prepare yourself whether you should
yeah,
apply.
for your
You, are
future.
doing, you can search your labs whether you should do in your. Suppose you want to move into a immunology field, you can search labs in India, which one is suitable for your work, and
like
then
that
you
way.
can search all over the world. So yeah, that is really important. That will help you to explore your career.
And if you are doing research some in the bachelor's or something, so that means within a short time you can develop some skills, and which must enrich your CV when you will apply for the future research. And in the CV you can also tell that you know this skill. So if the future lab of you need that particular skill, then you can transfer this skill to that lab. That would be actually very much helpful for your CV to develop. And when you are doing research, then you have to present your work in front of the audience, who actually this actually teach you to publicly advocate your work and also defend your work.
Yeah,
And
actually there are two kind of, when you are in undergrad, you have to present in front of your professor, teachers, and other fellows,
peers
so
also.
that they can tell you which part you have to improve more, or and that will actually that you can continue when you are a faculty. Like I found here, like you have to sell your science. This is what it is. Like until you have to sell your science, no one is going to give you a grant. So you have to do it, and from that you have to start doing it from undergrad. So if you keep presenting your data or presenting
from
anything,
young
journal
age,
club, journal club, anything from your undergrad, that will help you to develop your presentation and communication skill during your, when you'll be the faculty. And and it is like you have to sell your science.
And doing research is in that young age is actually already put forward you one step forward from your competitor to get a good lab or anything like that. That is very true. And at the end of the day, when we are at that type of age, we found that our other friends who are actually in the other field will get money, will already get in the service, or sometimes which actually leads to some frustration. But you can think that in this young age you are already doing or serving the society, might be in the small way, but it will give you a satisfaction at the end of the day. That's very important, because we are actually getting frustrated to hear that at this age he is getting this type of salary, this type
of salary, still not established, still doing like a
still not as something. But at the end of the day, your take home message that you are doing something for society and you are doing it directly, that's actually give you very much good satisfaction.
The main thing is job satisfaction. It's there.
Job satisfaction.
Okay, now to publish your research, there are different types.
And you should try to publish your research when whatever research you do. And so
there
it
are
might
different journals, like international journals, national journals,
international conference, there are national conference, and there may be internal seminar, which is actually very common in Europe, where I am doing that with, because almost all of the universities have some magazine or wallpaper or anything, and where the research of the young mind, particularly the masters and bachelor student, publish their research.
And so the what is peer reviewed journal, that is that is important for you to know. So peer reviewed means, suppose you are working in a field of streptococcus or Vibrio cholerae, so when you published your paper, so that journal will send your manuscript to a person, to a reviewer who is actually working on the field of pneumococcus or streptococcus or Vibrio cholerae. So like if you're working in Vibrio cholerae, your journal will be sent to a reviewer who is working on Vibrio cholerae. So that is actually the peer reviewing. It's not that someone is working on the endocrinology field and who is a very good scientist will review your manuscript. So that will improve then the reviewer can ask you a good question and help you to develop help you to modify your manuscript in a good way.
That's right.
And there are other modes of publication, like you can do it like you can do the scientific blogs, you can make your websites, you can do some podcast.
Podcast, everything. You can make the online videos of your research. People are
Yeah.
doing these type of things now.
Yes.
Mm.
Although mostly the publication is considered,
As
if you
the
publish a
it
journal,
is the most
is associated in PubMed.
primary format of publishing your results. The
Yeah.
research paper. Yeah.
But these are the other things that you can do. Obviously,
can-
suppose in conference, if you present a data in a conference, that will be in their abstract, in conference abstract. So that is also
also very
in your publication, and you can include it in your CV when you are applying for
the future
postdoc, PhD, and anything. That will enrich your CV.
And the most good factor about publishing a result that it is actually extending your scientific network, because in the scientific world nobody is knowing you. So if you publish something or something, so people can get an idea that okay, that this guy is doing this type of research or something, he or she is associated with this lab, or like people get an idea. And that is if you can get some very valuable feedback, which already Shambit mentioned already, and which actually help to in your future research, because nobody is perfect, so the feedback is very important.
Yeah.
And
people come to know about your research. If you're presenting, then it will be helpful when you're applying to their lab. Suppose if you want to apply in a lab, and if the scientist already saw your already have seen your research paper and know about little bit about you and your lab, then it will be easier for you to get into their lab.
Yeah, right. And it will give an exposure to this scientific community, which is very much important.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Now,
and now actually we are talking about the general ideas about the PhDs. We are actually I did my research in the Europe, in the Sweden and Korea. So I can give you and first I have to mention that it is not 100% true. Every university has their specific rule. It is more or less specific for in the 70 or 80% cases. And in the Asia case, I actually I am going to talk about the Japan and the Korea, because I know about the these two countries, how the PhDs happen. And I am talking most of the Europe, and Shambit will give you an idea about the USA PhD because he is there. So Shambit, you can start with the USA, then.
So to get into a PhD program in US, you have to qualify the GRE, and then if you get a certain marks, and based on the marks, you can apply to university. And university also has a cut-off marks, and if you qualify with the cut-off marks, then only you can get able to then you can get into that university. And after that, you have to do a rotation in 3 different labs, and with the interaction with the supervisor, if both of them like each other, and then you can join their lab.
So that means if you want to do the PhD in USA, you only apply to the university directly. You cannot apply to the professor or the lecturer anything directly. But in case of the Europe, most of the Europe and in the Asia, you can.
Like I know a faculty, so he actually wanted a student from India, because the student has a good has a publication during master days, but he's grade in GRE that doesn't qualify the cut-off marks, so he cannot take the student. So only if you cross the cut-off marks, there is a board, then board will decide
everything.
Everything.
But here in the Europe or in the Asia, you can apply directly to the professor. You will go through about his or her research in the internet. If you are getting interested, you can directly send an email to them. But in the USA, it is not the procedure.
It's not the procedure. Totally through the GRE and
only GRE and in the USA or in the Asia, the PhD takes a little bit longer. It is around 5 to 6 hours. 5 to 6 years, but in Europe, in most of the cases, the 4 years is the maximum, and even in the some countries like Germany, it is 3 years and 3.5 years. And you have to take, and when you are in the PhD program, you have to do the regular class, like the masters and the PhDs for some part of your PhDs. About
so this is another thing. Like when you qualify in India, when you qualify the NET. We'll get the scholarship and we can do the PhD. But in US, if you are in the project of your supervisor, then it's good, it's fine. if you are not, if your project, if your boss supervisor's project is not get renewed, then you need to do the teaching, and which is little bit troublesome because you have to do research in lab, in between you have to do the classes, so but to earn money, like you have to do it during the PhD. So
but
this is
but
for the foreign students I'm mostly talking about. Yeah.
But
So,
in the Europe, if you are come through a PhD program, it doesn't matter whether your supervisor is running out of fund or anything. It is university's responsibility then they to make you graduate. And so
yes, it's fun there.
and some of the universities in Europe actually trying to give the students some teaching exposure, which is actually I think is very good, because when they are applying for
Faculty in India or
any
anywhere,
faculty or anything,
yeah, you have to
then
show
they
that
can
you have,
mention that during PhD I have taken classes. I have taken classes. So they are actually don't need to doing the classroom, but they instead they are actually encouraged to taking teaching as an alternative option and in Europe. And another thing is in the research you can hear that there should be a balance between the work life and your personal life. And I found in the Europe it is very relaxed. They actually encourage your personal life to be very good and everything. They actually it's very relaxed in Europe. If you're doing research here, you will find it very relaxed. And where in the Asia, when I was in Korea, it is totally opposite. They in the Korea, the general lab time is from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. or even 10 p.m. So there is you have to sacrifice your personal life if you want to stay for a longer period in Asia. It's true. So their work-life balance is hampered, but in Europe it is totally relaxed.
Yeah, in US it is mediocre as it is written, like the normal worker is from 8 to 5, but it depends on your lab, on your PI, like you can start from 10 a.m, you can end it up at like 7 8, but it depends on your PI. But I found mostly those are Americans. So at Friday 3 p.m you cannot see any American students here. Okay, so it's in the party time. So they leave at before 3 at mostly, not all, at 3 p.m on Friday and came back to on the Monday. So so it's kind of it's not that like a pressure situation in USA, but yeah, the work pressure is there, but still you can balance your work and personal life.
Yeah, it is not totally hampered like Asia, like that. It was
yeah, Europe is a bit
Europe
relaxed.
is really relaxed. Yeah, and then come to the publication, which is another important aspect of the research.
Yeah, in
and
US it's like a you have to publish.
You have to publish.
Yeah, and whatever you're doing, like
you have
you
to
can
publish.
you can do the partying all over the night. Whatever you do it. No one is going to ask you when you are going to come, when you are going to leave, but you have to show your data and you have to publish it. Not only show your data to PI. So there is a little bit pressure on that
For
area.
publication issue, yeah.
Publication, and it's good actually. So you can publish more than like other other countries in because if you have the pressure on your head.
Yeah, in Korea I found they are actually running after the publication. They are actually thinking about the high impact from the journal, and they stress very much about the publication. In Korea is like that you have to publish at least one first author journal at every year, like the pressure is like this. But in Europe I found they are actually more believing in quality rather than quantity. They don't run after the publication, so the publication pressure is less. But at the other end of the coin, you found that when you did your PhDs from Europe or anything, you generally had little less publication compared to the PhDs from Europe, USA or Asia.
Yeah. So another thing is that the good thing I found here, I think Prachitas will be finding there also, that if you publish in any journal, that is good, like that is associated with PubMed. You don't need to run behind the high impact journal. So that is somewhat like a problem in Asia's, mostly in India.
Asia. They are actually thinking
if you have a
about
publication in high impact journal, only there is a chance to getting selected there. But in US, whether it is 2-3 impact factor journal to like a 10 impact factor journal, all are same. for
All the
the
same.
faculty and for the
They
students.
in Europe also they are don't running after the
In
impact
US,
factor.
yeah, that is the publication matters. That's it.
Mm, mm.
So whether it is 3 impact factor or 10 impact factor, that doesn't matter at all.
Yeah. And actually in Europe, I found that they actually give most emphasis on their thesis. So they actually think really care about their thesis, and it should be is the highest significant in their PhD degree, and it is written with utmost importance. And in Korea, I saw in the Japan also that is not
I
so
think paper
significant
thesis.
like
Yeah, you
publication. They
just
are
publish
not think
paper.
yeah,
You have to
they are
present it.
not
And
you have to they are not thinking about so much about their thesis. They are
yeah,
mostly dealing with their
that is same in
publication.
US also.
Yeah, also
Like you
same in
just
the
need
US.
to present your data and you have to
Mm,
show your publication, and
mm,
you'll be approved for your PhD.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the future end, which is most important if you want to stay in the academia.
Yeah.
Uh, in Europe, I found that it is again relaxed, that they mostly think about the quality. So it doesn't matter whether you got your PhD from EU or from India or from Africa. It doesn't matter if you have quality or anything. They actually don't discriminate. But where in Japan and Korea, I found it is very difficult. The most big barrier is actually the language problem,
Language. Yeah.
because they actually don't know English even at the highest level. So
Yeah. To
that
get into any job, you need to learn their languages.
their languages and very much, and so it is quite difficult to if you want to stick in the academia in the Asia. And whether in the Europe it is much more easier, but in the Europe the age barrier is a little bit strict here in
Yeah,
Europe,
age
what I
grade
did.
is somewhat there in everywhere. Like for postdoc, if you are doing for 10 years postdoc, then it is really difficult to get into another position. Even if it crosses 5 years more. So, but then USA, the main thing is the visa issues. Like those who are applying for the PhD, they have the F1 visa. So the good advantage of doing PhD in USA is that, so from F1 visa, you can, after completing your PhD, you can apply to a job directly. That we cannot do. We are in a J1 visa, or if you are in H1B visa, technically in H1B visa, those are I'm talking about the postdoc, or J1 visa, there are also postdocs. Or so in you can apply, technically you can apply for the job, but actually the companies or in the academia, they're not, I'm talking about the academia, the companies, they're looking for the, that you have to have a green card, okay, to get into there. But those who are doing PhD from USA, they there's an option from F1 visa to get into their company job. So it's really, and this job field is like a very vast in USA. So you can get a different kinds of jobs related to your academia or company. There's different positions, like you can be a, not only you can be a faculty, you can be an academic instructor, you can be an instructor for the core facilities, and there are different biotechnologies companies are there, you can get into there if you are doing PhD from USA. But if you are not doing PhD from USA, if you're coming from the outside countries, you have to have your green card to get into your position. So this is kind of problem in USA, and this is quite advantageous for the students who are doing PhDs in USA. So this visa problem is an issue in US.
Yeah. And another thing is the English test, that in the TOEFL or IELTS, if you want to do in the PhD in the USA, you have to qualify it. And whether in the Europe or Asia, it is not at all required.
Yeah, and yeah, there's another good thing, like those who are doing PhD in USA, like they can give an English proficiency test for Canada, and in Canada, if they qualify that, and I think they'll directly get the PR, that is permanent residency in Canada. Okay, so it is really difficult to get your green card in US, but it's quite easier to get your permanent residency, like which is similar to the green card in Canada. So when you get into the Canada, then you can apply to US again in different companies. Okay, so it is always, I'll always support to do PhD. If you want to do PhD outside, of your like India, then you can start applying in US. There are a lot of advantage in visa and related job related options.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
now
So
yeah.
When you are this one, when you are entering to research field, you should try to develop these skills in you these skills in you, because that will help in the research. So one is the analytical mind, because
Yeah.
why should you do the research and what methodology should do use? You have to be pinpoint in this, and for this you
Yeah.
have to be a very good analytical mind. And
Yeah,
you
and this analytical and creativity that I already said, that you can start developing it since your undergrad days.
yeah, yeah. And another is you should be a people person. People person means that if you become very dear to people, that you will create a very good working environment, because in the lab you cannot alone do anything. You have to take the help from any other guys in the lab. So it should be good to be a people person. And you have to develop the ability to stay calm, particularly in the crunching situation when the deadline approaches to submit your result or anything. So try to be calm as much as possible.
Yeah,
uh,
it's quite really difficult,
yeah,
but you have to be. If you have that power, then you'll survive better than others.
yeah. And intelligence is another thing that you have
That
to
is, I'll
uh,
mostly say about the creative part. So start
uh,
thinking new, like starting from the scratch. If you read a paper, you just
uh,
start thinking from there what you can do, what is not already published. You just start
uh,
thinking whether it is not that good or bad. Okay, still it is good. Just start,
uh,
keep thinking it since you are in the undergrad.
uh, like that. So the another one is that that curiosity. You have to be curious. That
Yeah,
otherwise you won't be passionate in your research. That is very much important.
fascinating actually.
Uh,
Like you have
uh,
to love your research. It's not
you
just
have to love your
very
research.
easy to get your job in different position. If
Uh,
you're like if you think that you want to be a researcher and scientist, then
uh,
you'll do better in your PhD life or in
or
postdoc.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That is very much important. Otherwise,
yeah,
you cannot get idea about the research. And then is you have to be quick thinker, that the when the results are not expected, you have to go to another way. So you have to be on your feet, like that way. And you
yeah.
have
So
to,
actually, you have to be top up in your research. Like
yeah, uh,
you know that when you start your experiment, you have to know
mm,
that if you don't get your data, then what will happen? What are the other
but,
ways you can make it?
uh,
So that is kind of you have to do it,
do
and
it.
yeah, this is also a quick thinker part.
And then another one is that you have to showing commitment, because the result is the research is a rigorous and continuous process. So you have to show your commitment even when the things are not come into your way. And you have must be a very good communications. You have to develop a very good communication skill. And so you have to, and the combination skill that I am not taking that you have to be super fine in English, like that. But
If you were
at
telling
least
the other,
but whatever you are telling or something, people should understand.
and
That's
that
the main thing. Yeah. And you have to be a sympathetic ear, because you have to you have to be open to your criticism. Otherwise you cannot develop in your field.
yeah,
And
that's the most important thing, I think.
that is the most important thing.
You'll heard a lot of things from your supervisor, so
Yeah, but you should not get frustrated like that way.
yeah,
And another way that you should be very systematic, because the research is a long term process. So suppose you have to publish a data which experiment you have done 5 years ago. So you have to be systematic. Otherwise you cannot find all your data in easily. So you have to be systematic like way. So when you are doing research or get data, make a separate folder by tagging with different date or different name. So whenever you
yeah,
have to write a manuscript or project, you can easily find, like that way. You have to
yeah,
be systematic in your own way. There is no standard protocol in that way.
exactly. That I found during my PhD degree, I was not systematic at all. Okay,
Yeah,
so the thing is that when I need something, need a paper that already I saved it, I cannot find. I thought, oh, which folder I saved it. So that you have to make a folder for your data, folder for your review or
yeah.
research journals, and folder for your experimental plans. And yeah, and you have to make multiple copies of it, and that's how you have to be systematic in this field.
And that is that how do should you contact your PhD supervisor? First is that you have to attach your updated CV whenever
See,
you write to a new supervisor, like that way. And
Yeah.
along with that CV, you have to write a cover letter. In the cover letter, you should avoid talking the unnecessary things, that and the generalized things, that you have done the BSc from this
Yeah.
college, you have got this type of marks. Don't need to mention about that.
Yeah.
Uh,
The key
don't
factor
make
is
it
to
generalized.
write a
Yeah.
good cover letter is don't
Hmm.
write more about yourself because it's already there in your CV.
In your
So
CV.
write why you are going to apply to that lab, why
Yeah.
you are interested to lab. The scientist, the person, the professor, they need to think that it's not a general application.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
you have the interest in your lab, that's why you are applying.
Yeah.
So that's what you have to do during
Hmm.
writing a cover letter.
Yeah. And simultaneously you have to conveying your skills and knowledge to that professor or lecturer, anything, so they can know. So you have to make a fine balance. Don't make it so general. Instead of that, you should convey your skills and knowledge about that subject or like that.
Just few lines that like
Ah.
you have done these things during your undergrad or master degrees, and why you are applying for this lab,
Yeah.
and what is your qualification in 3 different paragraphs. You have to write all 3 information, and just you can submit it along with your CV to the faculty.
That is the important thing. Must.
That is the important thing.
And another one is that when you are applying to a professor, please try to make it sure that you are using the perfect title. Suppose somebody is professor, but you are whenever you write a cover letter to you use that doctor this. It is not a good way to mention them. Write that Professor X or Professor Y in like that way.
Yeah. Because not everybody is professor here, so only those who are professor, you can write professor. If it is not like a associate assistant professor here, if you write professor, then I know here USL they'll not feel good. So in that case you can write doctor, and those who are professor, you have to write professor. But it's okay, you can here the only good thing I found here, you can call by their name, but for the first time application, don't write it.
And from the Indian background, it is very difficult for us to call them by name. We also face the difficulty when we came here.
Now we can say, you can ask anyone by their name, but it's really difficult. Usually I used to ask anyone like, yeah, Dr. this and Dr. that. So, but it's quite difficult to call by their name.
Yeah. And that you, whenever you write the cover letter, you have to show your interest in that researcher's work. That, and it would be better if you mention some of his article in that cover letter, that I have going through this article and they are dealing with this one. And then that academic person also thinking, okay, that means that person is really
they really read about the lab.
Read about the lab. He or she actually already know the lab
kind of work
lab research, like that way. It will actually ultimately end of the day, it will give a good impression while the academics read your cover letter. That's the
because
important.
if faculty might get like hundreds of CV and cover letters every month, so it's not easier for him also to read all about. So he just looked into it, and if he finds that you write about his research, then he'll have more interest and he'll read it carefully, and it will be good chance for you to get into their lab.
Yeah. And and another thing, that suppose you are applying to a professor who is very good and who is very established in his field, but suppose he is running out of fund or anything. So it would be better if you think that, okay, that means while applying to that professor, you are mentioning about some funding that you can apply with that researcher or with that professor. So then he can give a second thought of about including you into the lab. Okay, that he can tell you that, okay, I am interested in you, but you have to write fund for you. You can join in your lab, like that way. So it is a very good way if you mention about some funding in your application.
This is actually the most important thing. Like you can apply different the grant. I think in Europe, it is there, like the Wellcome Trust, right? It's in Europe. So you can apply on that grant. If you get selected, then it's really good for your career. But thing is that I heard that I don't know actually about it. Like to get into that grant, you have to have a publication during your master degrees or undergrads, and you have to have a good recommendation from your supervisor, from master degree and
bachelor's degree,
in lab where you did your research work. Yeah, it's not that easy to get into that grants, but if you're lucky to get into there, then you're all set to go for rest of your careers.
And try to conclude your cover letter by asking whether you could visit them in person if you are applying within the same country or same province, or you can request them that at least minimum can we speak over the phone if you are applying for any international case or anything, because nowadays when the Zoom and Skype is has come, it is very easy to communicate even you are applying further like that. And
yeah,
and another thing you have to think that the
just to input one thing, this is not related to the students from India or any foreign countries, those who are American. So this I found quite surprising. If a American who is born and brought up in Michigan, so if you want to apply in California, if you want to do the master degree and undergrads there, he has to pay more. Okay, so and it's double. So that is not in India, but this is for their citizens. Those who are applying from the outside in the foreign countries, they can apply anywhere in any states in US. Yeah.
Another thing you have to keep in mind that the professors are really busy and they have so many things to do. They are beside research, they have to do many administrative work. So sometimes they have to
run grant. So here is the thing. Here the salary of your professor or like assistant professor, associate professor, mostly that comes from your grant. So whether you're a good professor, like you have a good publication, you have published in Natures and Cell and Science until your age of 50, and then you're not getting any ideas for your future research, then your salary will drop. Okay, so to survive here, even those are the very popular faculty, very renowned professor, they have to write grants. So they are in a pressure also. So it doesn't matter whether you already published in Nature or already published in there, you have to write grants to survive. So they are in pressure. So when you apply for a position in their lab, you might not get here from them. Okay, because they might be busy in their writing grant, but you have to keep your patience. So you might get hurt. You might get from them like 3-4 weeks or later. That's how it is.
Yeah. And another thing you have to keep in mind that the professors are really busy, so sometimes they might forget to respond you within time or something. So it is not a shame to send a follow-up email if you don't get any response within 2 weeks. Don't hesitate, go for a follow-up email, and it is quite natural. And another thing, in this young mind, sometimes you can think so much about the rejection. Don't take any rejection personally, because the
everyone
professor
get rejected.
Everyone get rejected. Everyone. It is quite common.
Yeah,
it's very common. So you don't think and so much about rejection. If you get rejection, then go for the next option like that. And if you keep applying, you must get positive response from anywhere. It is quite certain. So don't get frustrated. Keep applying.
Yeah, don't get frustrated. Don't get panic seeing like you got your position, already got position in US, Europe. You're not getting. Just keep patience. You'll also get into there.
Yeah. And then another thing that when you are doing research and where you are in the lab, how to develop a good relationship with your supervisor. The one thing is we try to make it short. That is, you try to be open and honest. Honest is the very much important, because when you are newcomer in the lab, or even if you are experienced, you might do mistake. Mistake happens, and it happens to any other man. So don't, and it would be easy, and it would be good for future if you commit your mistake in one way. So don't make it.
I can tell you, in US, no one is going to scold you for your mistake.
Mistake. In Europe also, because they like the honesty.
Yeah, they like the honesty. If you're doing wrong, if you do mistakes, you just tell your supervisor.
Just tell your supervisor. Then they will take care of everything.
Yeah.
And whenever you are lab trying to develop your independent skill, So the your mentor or your supervisor would be happy if he or she see that okay, that this guy is started to think her project independently. He already designing his experiment independently. So it will give your relationship with your supervisor a huge boost. That would be very much important. Try to
Yeah.
display your independence, and don't try to escape from your supervisor. Instead, try to maintain the regular contact with him or her, because I already told that if you make a regular contact with them, then they already get an idea, okay, this guy is busy in this guy is busy in this. So it would be actually make your relationship quite smoother with your supervisor.
Supervisor. Yeah.
And try to finish your work, meet agreed deadlines. So whenever you are arguing about, you are talking about something to complete, if you have any work, then tell it at that time. Once you finish the meeting and the deadline is finished, deadline is fixed, then don't try to manipulate it. Before that, before agreed deadlines,
Go to
you
there
can
and
say
say
your
that,
problem. Yeah, you can request him for some extra days or extra hours, but once it is fixed, try to finish it within the deadline. That is the most positive and the professional attitude in the lab.
Yeah.
And you should understand your mutual responsibility and expectations, because the sometimes supervisor don't tell you directly. Suppose one day or on evening during the tea break, he tells or he or she tells that we have to organize our lab. Then trying to show your initiative and trying to take the responsibility to organize the lab, organize the things. Don't expect anything or all the things directly from your supervisor. You have to use your common sense in this way also.
Yeah.
And try to use your supervisor advice and feedback, because they are superior
They're more
in
experienced in
knowledge and they're more experienced, so they can get a broader view or other view of our problem. So sometimes you have to use your supervisor advice and feedback blindly, even you don't like it, but most of the cases it actually helps you.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, there are some areas of scientific dishonesties during your research field. The most
and try to avoid this.
Yeah, try to avoid all these. Like the most important, you might be hearing that plagiarism, like just copying paste. Suppose you are writing something manuscript, you are just copying paste from a already published manuscript, and
in the same way,
same way, without changing anything or like that. So you have to write your own sentence. So that's what it is to write a good manuscript.
You can use their ideas but not their words,
like word by word or like sentence by sentences. So this is what called plagiarism. And if it is like more than like 30%, I think of your sentences are in under that plagiarism.
You can use their ideas, will be rejected.
And your thesis also will be rejected.
Yeah. And another is the data fabrication. And
manipulating data. You are not getting the data
because you are thinking about anything, and but the result is not coming that way. So you are thinking about to make your own data to fulfill your hypothesis. That is not done.
That is not done.
That is not done in any way, in any excuse. So it should be avoided.
It should be avoided. Yep.
And another one is the suppressing of the data. That is the non-publication of a data. That you got some result which is not according to the essence of that manuscript, or which is not in the agreement of
the data. Delete that data, you publish it, that's not done. You have to show it, and you have to discuss why you are getting that. You have to write everything on that. So that's why you have to increase the number of replicates in your experience. So if you do more, like instead of doing 3 times replication of your experience, if you're doing like 6, 10 times, then you'll be knowing that how much it is fit to your hypothesis. Whether it is good fit or a bad fit.
Another one is the faulty data gathering. That means you are using some
to the data fabrication.
And suppose you are using one machine and the machine is not calibrated well. So the result which actually came out from that machine is actually not the correct data. So it is not actually your intentional, but it might be unintentional. So also, so think about
that
this one.
Be careful during your publication.
Yeah.
Like suppose you are putting like 20, 25 figures for your manuscripts. Okay, so just by mistake, you just copy paste the same data and put it in a different figure.
Yeah.
So that you have to be careful. That is your not fault, but yeah, that is quite problematic.
Unintentional, but try to avoid this. Be
try
careful.
to avoid this. Yeah.
Another one is the misleading authorship. Suppose you have written one manuscript or anything, and there is, you have some peers or some relation, you put their name in their way. It is not good, because it is not good.
And yeah, you have to acknowledge one, like
you have to acknowledge
your peer, your colleague did that experiment. You have to put their name, or at least you have to acknowledge it in your acknowledge section in your manuscript.
Like
that will develop you to do help you to develop a fair relationship with among your colleague, and that actually will help in your research in future.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are some positive and negative points gathered from the student across the world, and that was published in Nature. And so the first I'll tell you the positive points, like when a PhD students around the world are asked like that, which of the following sectors would you like to go there after having your postdoc? Most of them said that they'll go to the academia. Some of will go to the industry. So that means there is a job satisfaction. Okay, so if you're doing research and if you're going to the academia, if you're willing to go into the academia, it's not always possible like what you're thinking you'll get the position in academia. Is a huge competitive area, and whole world actually the number of PhD students are more than the jobs are there. So but still, if you're willing to be there in academia, it means that you have an interest in your research field. Okay, and there is a sustained satisfaction, like the students were asked how satisfied are with your decision to pursue PhD. So mostly they found that
people are really satisfied after doing the PhD, and they also found that they can sustain their satisfaction after their master degree also. That is quite interesting.
Yeah. And this is another thing, like which part of the PhD do you like most? So then the students replied that the intellectual intelligence, like the thinking, the creative thinking. Actually the research is where your government pays you for your
only
thinking.
For thinking. Yeah.
This is the only field where government pays you for your thinking. So that's why people come into your research and pursue their career as a scientist or faculty. And these are some negative points that faced most of the students across the world from their supervisors and different aspects. And for in US, there are laws, and you have to do the classes before you get into the PhD. And because there is gender discrimination, racial discrimination, although I didn't face it here, I heard a lot of it before I came to USA that there's a racial discrimination, but I didn't face it. When you talk to a white American, they'll talk to you in a very nice way. So, but yeah, might be some people they face in or anywhere. So that's why as it is said that here is, you can say like the, have you experienced any discrimination or harassment in your PhD program? The no is the most of the cases. And this is another thing, like the stress of your lab hours. Okay, so mostly I found that the lab hours is like a from 40 to 80 hours in a week, like a 7 to 10 hours, like per day. So that's how you have to spend in your PhD to get your result. It's not always that your supervisor will give you the pressure. It's sometimes you find that you'll not
sometimes
get your
work is such way that you have to do.
You have to do it.
You have to think that it is not 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. work. You have to adjust yourself.
Yeah, but I'm surprising with that one. Do you know who is it? Like less than 11 hours in a week means
I don't know.
2 hours in every day. I don't know who are the students. They might be the lucky.
Might be.
Even the biometrics person, they have to spend like 5-6 hours, 10 hours, 8 hours at least. So 2 hours, yeah. These are some facts like they're asked like is your university give you pressure to come to the lab, or if your university supports good work-life balance, and these are the few associative points. And mostly it's like a in 50-50 condition. Like some universities I found here in US, they'll give you really support. Like if you're facing problem with your supervisor, so you can go to a cell, you can tell them like, okay, this professor is his behavior is very rude and they're doing discrimination. You can talk to the admin and they'll definitely take action for you. So they'll put you into another lab and they'll take necessary action against the professor or the faculties. So this is really important. So that
because
actually help you in your improve your mental health here.
Actually in here I actually found it that one of my very close friends in Europe, Sweden, actually she got harassment from her professor or something. Then she actually told her HOD, then her HOD actually took him to another lab. So it is not a crime here, it is quite common. You can because
it do not here I found, even in the Europe he's telling
in Europe
like, you don't need to fear about, like you are telling,
you don't have to think about, because they don't think it is as a crime like that way. But in Asia it is completely different. In the Korea it will be very difficult to get rid of any supervisor if you don't like it. Then
you cannot speak against your authority.
You cannot speak
the problem because with Asian countries.
In the Asian country, the social hierarchy is so strong. It would be very difficult to get rid of any lab or something. Then you really difficult. And if that the professor in which lab you are doing your research is if some experienced researcher, then it would be absolutely impossible like that way. So you cannot change the lab like that way. But in USA or Europe, it is quite relaxed, and they don't think it as a crime to change the lab or so actually department take the responsibility of
department take the responsibility. Actually, I recently saw an example here. A student was told by his supervisor that you have to leave the lab within 7 days. It's not because he did something wrong. It's because he's not providing the data actually the supervisor wants, and that doesn't mean the student is not working. It means also that the project is not working. Okay, but he was given 7 days to leave the lab, and he was really frustrated because this is the visa problem. He have to come back to India. So what he did, he applied to the Dean of Science, and Dean of Science took him as in his lab, and then he get time at least 1-2 months to get to apply in a different lab. And he is now in USA. He's doing postdoc in different lab. So this is actually very good here. This is very good for your mental health here in the US and any first world countries like Europe. But that is not quite you find in Asian countries. So what supervisors and universities can do to enhance the doctoral student experience? So we have told transparency about the course.
You have already mentioned about this point already.
So at least department should take care about how long it will take, and if it is not, department should ask the supervisor like what here the things are going on. Like if a PhD student is not getting his publication at 4th-5th year, then it is a quite pressure to the supervisor. He needs to answer to the committee why he's not doing good. Then it's not that he can say like student is not doing good. So it's also his responsibility too. So that's how university can help the students here back in India. And they can support about the career support for the doctoral and postdoctoral students, and they also help to learn the software things like the programming, and they make different workshops for the PhD students and for undergrads and for the grads. And the same thing that we talked about, like that should be done for the supervisor, like open and honest communication. I'll give you the project, this is your deadline, you have to finish it, and this is my grant is there, like I can give you support for 5 years, 4 years. Okay, after that you have to do your teaching to earn money. That's a clear-cut scenario that should be given to a student. And always supervisors show supportive attitude toward the skill development and career opportunities to the students. Here I found people help you, the supervisor asked you what you want to do after PhD, what you want to do after postdoc. So that is quite like supportive things that I found here. And active participation and commitment, their own continued professional development. If supervisor starts to develop their own professional things like those who are older professor, if they start learning something new techniques, something new packages, then they can
new
teach the
programming or
students
anything like that.
Yeah, so they need to develop their own skill also. It's not that I learned it and I am not going to learn it in near future. Students have to learn it. So it's not that. So if supervisor can start learning it, that will help you, that help the students. Yeah, so the take home messages.
That if
you want to set the paradigms of the learning from the undergrad levels,
it will enhance your analytical
all the
and
everything.
creativity skills.
Yeah, that will help you to develop the analytical and creativity skills.
That make you self-dependent.
Self-dependent, which is important when you're a postdoc. At least when you're in a PhD, supervisor can help you. But if you're in the postdoc, it's all your responsibility. If you're in higher education, it's all your responsibility to carry out everything by yourself. So if you start doing it from the reading textbook, reading research paper and review paper, anything, since you're undergrad, it will help you to develop your self-dependency nature. And if you're doing the project, as we told, doing the project and PowerPoint presentation since your undergrad days, that will help you to develop your communication skills, and also help you to develop the cooperative attitudes. And this
actually, this is the university where I'm doing my research. It is a very young university. It established in the 1965, and it is actually located in the northeast of the Umeå. But it is one of the 10 most fastest growing universities in Europe. It already has 33,000 students and 3,600 international students with over 60 different nationalities. And it is quite a good number of students for such a young university. And there is already 400 international researchers. And the one of the pride of that university, that in the Nobel Prize in the chemistry, Emmanuel Charpentier, she actually made the discovery in the Umeå University, for which she got the Nobel Prize in chemistry this year.
This is about my university, Michigan State University. It was established in 1855. It's one of the very oldest universities in US, and it is among the Big Ten conferences, Big Ten University in the US. And this is actually my department. It is interdisciplinary science and technology department. And the thing is that Michigan State University is mostly known for animal science, agriculture, is a plant science, and nuclear physics. So they have the instrument in the nuclear physics that other universities all over the world can develop in later time. So this is the most important for those who are in the physics area. If they want to pursue their career in nuclear physics, they can apply in Michigan State University. And all over, there is 50,000 students among almost 6,000 academic staff, 9,000 international students across the 140 countries. And there are actually two Nobel laureates associated with Michigan State University. That is Alfred Hershey. You might be knowing about him, that Hershey chess experiment for who got the Nobel Prize for that. And he actually did his BSc and PhD from here in the microbiology department. So he's actually associated with the alumni, not he did his work here. When he did his work, I think he got the Nobel Prize from Cold Spring and Harvard Laboratory, I think. And there's another scientist, Albert Kurt, who actually was as an adjunct professor in Michigan State University. And his team in Michigan State University developed a technology related to the hard drive, and for what he got the Nobel Prize. And this is actually our mascot. We call it Spartan. Yeah, this is the interesting thing I'm going to tell you in brief, actually. So he's the Professor Richard Lenski. So he's in the microbiology department, and he actually is doing on his work on evolution. So he is maintaining a culture since 1988 of the cultures of E. coli growing in glucose mineral media condition, and this is his lab in microbiology department, and every time he got a new generation, he's just increasing this number. So this is the 73,000 times like the generation they're getting the E. coli generation. So he put every time in his window. So, and he found that his E. coli strain, which cannot utilize citrate when he started his experiments in 1988, now this E. coli can utilize the citrate as a sole carbon aerobic environment. So he's a eminent figure in US and all over the world for evolutionary biologist in bacteriology field. So yeah, this is, I found really fun. I came here, really found interesting is it's like a scientist who is writing like the generation number, generation time in generation like in the window. Yeah. And those are the instruments that we use in our lab. This is very common for biology lab, any biological sciences research laboratories all over the world. So you might be knowing all those things like this is the laminar flow incubator, this is the gel dog, this is the chemiluminescence dog to measure the luminescence here. This is like automated fluorescence microscope. If you just put your sample there and they'll move the stage automatically, and they'll have the incubator like 37. You can, if you want to do the live cell imaging, you can do it with that instrument. This is real-time PCR to measure the RNA and also the DNA. Mostly for the RNA we used. This is like a different, very like a common microscope. This is the phase contrast microscope, and this is fluorescence microscope, and this is a cryotome sectioning to do the tissue sectioning. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for hearing us.
Ready to welcome any question.
Thank you, Dr. Ghosh and Dr. Roy, for such a nice and informative talk. I think the students has been enriched very much from your joint discussion. Now this is the time for a short question answer session, and I am going to place the questions from the audience before you. The first question is, what type of skill and how it can be developed during undergraduation, which can help in future research?
Yeah, the one thing we that's a very good question, and we have already discussed about thing. The main thing that we think that you have to start practicing about reading the research paper from your undergraduate level. That will give an idea of the updated research, and that will also increase your curiosity to the science.
Yeah, and so suppose you find a knowledge in the textbook, you just read it and memorize it and write it in your exam. One day you'll forget it. Okay. Yeah. But if you start learning the experience behind that, the information, how it was derived, if you know that, then you'll remember it better, and that will help you to develop your skills, and yeah, you'll get advantage during your PhD.
That is the most basic thing we think.
Yeah.
The next question is, are the students eligible for PhD, especially in Europe and USA after graduation? And if yes?
No.
Okay.
So those who are Americans, they can do their PhD directly from undergrads. Like after doing their BSc, they can directly get into their PhD. For those who are foreigner students, they have to have the master degree and also have to have some research experience. So you just complete your master degree, you need to get a lab, you need to show that you have a research experience for at least 6 months or 1 year.
6 months minimum, yeah.
Yeah, 6 months minimum.
The next question is, could you please tell us about the scope of research in Australia?
Australia?
I don't have
any idea.
I don't have any idea about that. I can
The
talk
ne-
about the little bit about the
Yeah,
postdoc
so that
research,
one
but
thing
I
is that,
don't.
yeah, we can ask if you find someone like who is in doing PhD in Australia, you can ask them, but we'll let you know later. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is, how about the PhD courses in Canada?
I don't know actually, but it might be the same as USA.
Yeah, because
You
I
have
know
to-
one of my friend who actually did his PhD in Canada, and he has to qualify the GRE and the IELTS, same like US. You have to qualify some GRE test and also English eligibility test.
Yeah.
The next question is, can you tell us about the entrance exam in USA, Canada, and UK, and the other development countries?
USA, you have to qualify GRE and English proficiency GRE TOEFL. Europe, you can directly apply.
You can directly apply. In most of the cases, you can directly apply.
The next question is, do programming courses from online platforms like Naptel or Coursera hold by additional importance to the CV?
Yeah, it is actually.
Yes.
If you Coursera is a great source to do the online courses. Yeah, so no one is going to ask you during your interview. But the thing is that if you don't know the courses, suppose you write in your CV during PhD application that you know the art, but when you get into a lab and you cannot do the art, then it will be really bad for your
impression. Yeah.
So although I found that Coursera is very good, if you just learning from the Coursera, you'll learn in a good way.
Lot.
Yeah, yeah. Coursera is really good. I heard. I never did that, but I heard.
The next question is, what are the suitable sites to get review papers for the undergraduate students?
PubMed.
PubMed or Google Scholar, these two.
Google Scholar, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now the students or the student coordinators can ask your questions by unmuting your mic.
Sure.
Any student, if you want to ask any question, you can unmute your mic and ask your question directly to the speaker. I think now there is no questions from the students or from the audience. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
Yeah, it also
Thank you
pleasure
for
from us.
webinar. Yeah, we are always there to help you for the students. If you know anything, just DM us or
if you
Gmail,
have any queries, you can drop an email to us.
So reply, so no problem.
Yeah, you can drop an email or send a message in Facebook. We will be there.
Thank you, Dr. Roy, Dr. Ghosh. So we have finally reached the end of the wonderful session. I'm sure this has helped the students a lot. So now I request Dr. Somudra Prasad Bonik, Head, Department of Microbiology, Maulana Azad College, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, Bipasha. So we are at the back end of today's event, and it is my privilege to extend a formal vote of thanks to all those without whom the staging of this program wouldn't have been possible. I'd like to express my heartfelt gratitude and congratulations to the two distinguished speakers of the evening, Dr. Prachitosh Ghosh and Dr. Shombit Roy, for reaching out to the students in order to empower them in a glamorous career in science. Really, you guys left no stones unturned. Thank you so much. I am also very proud to say that Prachitosh and Shombit, I have been knowing Prachitosh personally. He is a junior to me, and I also came to know Shombit a little time back. They are just keeping the flag high of India in the two continents. So great going, guys, and you guys motivated our students. So this is actually the very intention of organizing this kind of program. As actually this has been initiated by Department of Biotechnology, Government of India. We are actually endowed with the DBT Star College scheme, and the very intention of organizing this program is to motivate the UG students in research, in biological research. So that it is, the very theme of this webinar, a paradigm shift. So that the transition doesn't feel like that much steep to them. So all these days they are reading these textbooks and suddenly they are going to a research environment, so that the transition doesn't feel that much steep to them. So really hats off to you guys. Thank you so much. And okay, so no words of gratitude are enough for Deshmukh sir, Dr. Arvind Deshmukh, the founding president of Microbiology Society of India, and my own ma'am, Shapna Mukherjee ma'am, SM ma'am. We were very fond of her during and she actually taught us. And so she has been the president of West Bengal unit of MSI. So ma'am and sir, Shapna ma'am and Deshmukh sir. So your relentless motivation is beyond any kind of gratefulness from our side. Thank you so much, sir and ma'am. So we are also grateful to our principal, sir, as always, for his constant support and encouragement, especially in events directly meant to cater the interests of the students. Sir, thank you so much. Professor Shubhi Chandra Dasgupta, coordinator of IQAC, has been our mentor in all endeavors of our college. Thank you, sir, for staying with us as always. We are also thankful to the entire West Bengal unit of Microbiology Society of India for helping us in all possible manner to stage this event. Thank you so much, Richa, Moitri, Shayon, Shomodipto, and everyone else. Thank you so much. A big thanks goes to Dr. Abhishek Ghosh, my own beloved junior faculty. Abhishek has been in the backstage and never came to the limelight of this program, but he has been doing everything possible to stage this online event successfully. And also to our other faculty members, Bipasha, Devolina, Orpon, Suchitradi, Vikashda, everyone else who took big parts in staging this event. And I'm also very much thankful to Shubhadeep Dr. Shubhadeep Shamanto, Department of Chemistry, for sorting out all our technical glitches, especially in this new platform. We have been conducting webinars over the last 1.5 years since the times of pandemics in Google Meet platform, that now we have switched to Zoom and maybe we'll stay here for some time. So thank you, Shubhadeep. I must also express my thanks to Pritam Chaudhary. He is the outgoing 6th sem student. He actually took all the effort in kicking off the students unit of MSI at our college. Thank you so much, Pritam. I hope the baton will be passed to an able hand from you. Last but not the least, we are thankful to all participants, all the students and faculties of all the colleges, not only microbiology, but from other disciplines also, who played a big role in making this webinar a success. So we will be just stay here for a while. We'll be posting the Abhishek, has the feedback form been posted, or it will be posted?
It's already posted.
Oh, it has been already posted. Nice. So can you please post it once again, so that if somebody misses, they can again get back to it?
I have posted that already 5 times.
Okay. Thank you so much. So please, participants are requested to submit and fill up and submit the feedback form as soon as possible. So the e-certificates will reach your registered email IDs soon. Once again, thank you a lot. That is the end of today's inaugural program of our students MSI unit, and I think with the help of our students, our present students, we will be able to conduct more of these webinars, not webinars. I take back my word. Actually, we are hoping to stage these events physically so that we can cater to the benefit of the student community. Thank you all. We aim the program over here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All are requested to leave the platform. Our program is over. Thank you so much.